We are back.
Hi, friends.
Welcome back to The Wanderers Weird.
Yeah? Oh, Pauly Shore's coming to Zany's in July.
Hell. Yeah, welcome back to The Wanderers of Weird. I want to be sure that we start saying what this is at the beginning of the podcast. That was one of the tips.
Oh.
Was like, have a good intro. So we'll work that part out. I haven't done anything. But I do want to say, this is the Wanderers of Weird podcast. Because I don't think that we've ever really, or sometimes we do. Sometimes we have. But we just want you to know what you're listening to. And today, you're listening to the next installment of our Spooky State series, which is New Jersey.
Listen. Y'all are wild.
Yeah, New Jersey was pretty... I enjoyed researching New Jersey.
I have a friend that lives in New Jersey.
Yes.
I've got a family member who's married into our family.
I was going to say, she's from...
Yeah. She's from, and her family's from New Jersey.
I like that I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah. And I spoke to my friend that lives in New Jersey this morning.
Yeah.
Miss her greatly. Miss her and the whole fam greatly. So yeah. Hope you enjoy.
Just get into it.
Let's do it. Wait, did you have something you wanted to add that you forgot to do in the last one?
Oh, shit. Yeah, hold on. I left my phone at home when we went to the Waffle House.
Listen.
So, I might have been aware, but I guess I just didn't. It wasn't like information that was like at the forefront of my brain. So, for the catch-up episode, I saw this earlier, and it's like, it's like a kind of like a Twitter post, I guess. And it says the Netflix special reunion celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Spice Girls has been dropped, reportedly due to growing drama between Jerry and Mel B. And one of the where it's like they share it and then they say something with it, says Mel B won't let her forget she's a lesbian and she's mad about it. There were several that were like that, and I was like, that is hilarious.
Listen.
So I guess they have like it's another one was like a 30-year situationship.
Right. I muted this. Why are you making noise at me?
Because I want to.
Stupid
but yeah.
ESPN.
But yeah, I thought that was hilarious. And I was like, did I know about this tea?
Listen, you know what?
I probably did, but...
You know what? They were together a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, at least 3 of the 5 I could see being lesbians. And I think I love them even more for it.
Yeah.
To be real. I don't know. 2 of the 5 now. Back in the day, one of them for sure, but not so much now.
Yeah. But yeah.
Anyway.
That was what I wanted to add.
Okay.
All right. Am I going first?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I'll go first. In the town of Alpines, it's a 6-story Gothic stone clock tower that has become known as the Devil's Tower because it is said that the devil himself inhabits it. There are several legends surrounding the structure, one of which includes the exact directions to conjuring the spirits living here. A lot of my information for this episode came from Weird New Jersey. A lot of people may be familiar. It's like a magazine that tells everything Weird New Jersey. It's kind of spread across the nation, but it started with New Jersey. So, big shout out to Weird New Jersey. You were really a crutch for this episode. But one Weird New Jersey reader said, the Big Stone Tower at one time housed evil rituals by Satanists early in the century. Some evil tragedy happened, and after the group's demise, there have been several attempts to tear it down, but to no avail. Some say crew workers have died here, or some say work crews have died in the attempt. Formerly known as Rio Vista, it was constructed by millionaire sugar importer Manuel Rionda in 1910.
I don't know why I was reading along with you, but you said millionaire sugar, and I immediately thought you were going to say sugar daddy.
No. I mean, probably, but also that. But he dedicated Rio Vista to his wife, who was laid to rest in the ornately decorated mausoleum along with Manuel's sister. Both of them were eventually moved to Brookside Cemetery upon Manuel's death. There was also a chapel attached to the mausoleum when they were both still standing. What?
The response I just got from...
Oh. It is rumored that he built the tower so that his wife could look out over the New York City skyline, but others believe it was built for religious purposes. The mansion of the couple sat on the cliffs where present-day Alpine Lookout is located. What is wrong with me? And his property was once the largest estate on the Palisades. Is that right? Palisades?
Yes.
The tower was connected to the home of the Riondas by an underground tunnel, and according to local legend, his wife was looking out of the tower when she saw Manuel with another woman. It is said that she was so distraught from this that she jumped from the tower and killed herself. Later that evening, when he had not heard from her, Manuel went looking for his wife and found her. Since her suicide, there have been reports of hauntings at the tower, including those who claim to have been pushed by an unseen force. There were also reports of strange noises, and because of this, it is said that Manuel locked up the tower and filled the tunnel connecting the home to the tower, and even had the elevator removed that led to the top of the tower and proclaimed, nobody will ever go up here again. Strange activities still continued at the tower, and Manuel died in 1943, and the town decided to demolish the tower. However, after multiple construction workers fell to their death, the work was canceled, and this alone led more people to believing that there were darker forces at work here. As with similar sites, the entire estate was subdivided, and through to the 1970s, it was primarily woodland. But around this time is when it acquired the moniker of Devil's Tower, when the youths would break in and party and graffiti the place, which gave it a satanic nature, which just basically made it another victim of the satanic panic of the 70s and 80s.
Not the youths.
Another reader of Weird New Jersey said, as you approach it, you can almost see people in the windows of the tower. When you get there, according to what I've heard, witnessed, and attempted myself, you are to drive your car around the tower in reverse 3 times. After the third, when you come to a full circle, turn off your car and headlights, and the ghost of a woman should approach you. This hasn't happened yet, but I and others have seen a mist start to form. After that, I don't know what is supposed to have happened, what is supposed to happen, and what isn't.
I want to praise anyone who can back that well around the building
right in a circle
3 times.
Others say that 6 times around the tower is the magic number to raise the dead. Still, others report that if you walk around the tower backwards 6 times at midnight, the devil himself will appear. There is, of course, some satanic graffiti on the inside of the building. However, the tower is now gated and locked, and the doors and windows have been sealed. Reports of spiritual activity at the tower include strange noises, which are said to sound like creaky stairs, windows being opened up and down with no one there to move them. When this was reported, there was a blurry figure seen in all white that leaned out and looked at the visitors, but it had no distinguishable facial features. Sorry, Willow, I did not mean to kick you in the face.
She did. She did.
And it looked as though it was wearing a veil or a cape. An anonymous reader of Weird New Jersey said that they and a couple of friends went to the tower and decided to drive around what they thought was the correct number 6 times in reverse. At the last go around, they stopped and at first saw nothing. Then they saw what they thought were white eyes in the top middle window. As they started to the driveway, one of the friends turned around to look at the tower and then began screaming. The other friend in the car also turned and started screaming. And when the driver looked in the rearview mirror and noticed a bright white object in the round window on the second floor, they immediately floored it as their friends continued screaming. I would be like, I'm going to need y'all to shut up.
Right.
They
I'm so freaking scared right now. Shut up.
They drove for around 5 minutes and talked, and the two friends agreed what they saw was a white figure in the top window that immediately moved down to the second floor, got really bright white, and then moved back toward the back of the tower before beginning to fade as they drove away. Alan, another reader of Weird New Jersey, said, as a teenager growing up in Bergenfield, my friends and I would take the trip up 9W to climb the tower, explore the chapel, and hang out. Even into the early 1980s, the estate grounds were largely undeveloped, and the property was crisscrossed with old gravel roads intersecting with the roughed-out new roads being laid for the current development. During a late summer evening in 1980, my friends and I were driving around looking for something to do. We decided we hadn't gone up to the tower in a while, and off we went. I and another friend were looking in the window of the dark wing of the south side of the tower, and our other friends joined us. It was then that we had what we call a mass hallucination. As we stood there, we all heard growls come from the darkened chamber, and as we looked into the darkness, we saw in the right corner a pair of red eyes looking back at us. Others report similar sightings of the white object in the windows. The church being turned into a satanic temple of sorts before it was torn down, with figures being seen behind the trees, a mysterious fog, randomly smelling the scent of flowers and dirt, mysterious gusts of wind, the sounds of someone wailing, and issues with technology, including this story from reader Beth. I grew up and still live in the Alpine area and have been to the tower several times. One of my friends drove around the circle 6 times backwards. After that, the wind kicked up, leaves started to swirl, we heard strange, faint wailing noises, and the lights in the gated area of the tower switched on and off. When we pulled away, we saw an image in the narrow window above the clock and felt a bigger chill. The wind picked up even more. We sped off towards Route 9W. Just as we reached the intersection with the blinking light, my sister's cell phone started to beep. She had a message. The call was from her home phone. The message was garbled and she could not be made out. My sister said the message sounded like a young girl giving a warning of some sort. We were pretty freaked out and stopped at the Royal Cliffs Diner to discuss what we saw. The 8 of us were standing around when one of the other cell phones started to ring. The call had come from another one of my sorority sisters who was standing right there and had not made any phone calls. It has also been said that the clock never worked in the clock tower. It was fitted but was not ever operational. However, it was set to the time of the wife's death, and it is said that the clock rings at the hour of her death on Halloween night, but I doubt that there's very much truth to that, because that was the only statement of that I saw. Everything else was everything else.
Wouldn't it be some shit if somebody were to be in the tower and count how many times that somebody goes around the circle, and then when they stop, they start flipping all the lights on and off?
It's like somebody's job to do that.
It's like some Scooby-Doo bullshit.
Right. It did sound like, even when I was writing it, I was like, this sounds kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode.
All right. So, as per usual, I've done the laws.
I like these. I like hearing about them.
Listen, some of these.
I said I was going to turn that little heater on.
I was looking for it. I'm
about to hear. You go on. I'm gonna plug it.
I want you to hear these.
Oh, I'm gonna be right in here. Okay. I'm not leaving the room. I'm gonna turn my mic down now. Over here.
So as I'm reading these, as I'm writing this episode, I was like, what? To about 95% of these. Okay. Some of these are repeats from other states, but I leave them in there just for shits and giggles. So I'm going to give you a few of them for now. If you have been arrested for drunk driving, you are no longer allowed to have a personalized license plate. Yeah. You can also lose that privilege if you're convicted of reckless driving or of death by auto or vessel. So
I kind of get it because a lot of times those are for nonprofit organizations.
Right.
So I kind of get that.
Well, I've
never heard of that before though.
If you have a license plate that says something along the lines of hot mama and you out having a great time and you get pulled over for drunk driving, you are no longer hot mama.
We've watched this guy, another kid. He's like 24 or 25, something like that. We watched him on YouTube, him and his girlfriend. And he was registering for a vanity plate, and it was pee poo. And it said pee poo is available.
That'd be something Daniel would do.
He showed it to me, like, laughing about it. I was like,
do it. All right, the next one. Handcuffs may not be sold to minors.
Okay.
You and I talked about this one earlier. You're not allowed to pump your own gas.
Yeah. Jersey girls don't pump gas.
I get it. I understand it.
I would love that. I would love it.
Well, it's odd.
It is weird. I think there's 2 states. It's Jersey and there's another one where you're not allowed to pump your own gas.
I feel like, is it New York? I don't know.
I want to say it's on the West Coast.
What states
Washington,
do not allow you to pump your own gas? New Jersey is the only statewide ban.
Oh.
Oregon has a partial.
Okay. I knew there was another
state.
There
is places in other states, like local ordinances.
Yeah.
Huntington, New York, Weymouth, Massachusetts. I get it. I get the idea behind it.
We need we got a sticker whenever we went to the Freedom Factory, and it says, "I bet your boyfriend blocks the diesel pump." And I was like, we need that. Because every time I go to the gas station.
TJ said the first time that he went, I guess it was New Jersey. He said he went to go get out of the car to put gas in it, and they yelled at him.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not from here. I didn't know. The next one, this one sent me.
Yeah.
This was the first one that TJ was like, what are you laughing at? Because this one sent me. It's very specific. And I tried to find the story behind it and couldn't.
Okay.
It's against the law for a man to knit during fishing season.
What?
Yeah. For why? What if he's just a lovely
Is it still
man?
active? Is that like an active law?
As far as I can see.
Huh. That is weird. All right.
It's against the law to frown at a police officer in an attempt to foster kindness in the citizens of New Jersey. The month of May is designated as Kindness Awareness Month.
Okay.
This one.
We could use a little bit more of that.
Right. This one, I did in fact ask my friend from New Jersey about this one.
Yeah.
And she didn't have any clear answers.
Yeah.
The third Thursday of October is designated as New Jersey Credit Union Day. And citizens of the state should observe the day with appropriate activities and programs. What
does that mean?
Do you consider an appropriate activity or program for Credit Union Day?
What is that?
I got no answers.
What does that mean? I would reach out to somebody's wife.
That's who I talked to.
Oh, is it who you talked to?
Yeah. What is an appropriate activity or program for New Jersey Credit Union Day. People helping people. Community engagement, giving back, food drives, community volunteer, shred events, school supply drives. A lot of the branches will have member appreciation things. Financial education and promotion, social media and awarenesses. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes more sense. That makes it make, yeah.
This next one, it's one that we've seen several times. Car dealerships are forbidden from opening on Sundays. You're not allowed to slurp your soup. Thank you.
I'm a slurper. Not constantly, but
in public,
that
drives me nuts. Like, if you do it at home, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't sit in a restaurant being nasty about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
want to hear that. That drives my misophonia. Like, listen.
Honestly, I would rather hear somebody slurp their soup than hear somebody at the Goodwill one more time, like, not picking their feet up and wearing slippers.
That doesn't bother me.
That
one of the children that frequents my home.
Yeah.
Not my children. Not my biological children. But one of my quote unquote adoptive children.
Yeah. Is a slurper.
He asked, first of all, this kid comes over to my house and eats me out of house at home every time.
Yeah.
I cannot have enough food in that house.
Yeah.
And he never really eats anything of substance. It's always like snack foods. What was it? Cosmic brownies. He ate almost an entire box of cosmic brownies.
Them ain't even that good.
And there was
I just
something
hurt
else that I got.
Feelings. I just know it. I just hurt somebody's feelings. I'm sorry, but
I gave him ramen one day.
Yeah.
The entire time, I was like,
disgusting.
Boy, I had to get up and leave the room. We were watching a movie, and I was like, he starts that, and I was like, if you don't stop.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? I was like, you're slurping. And he goes, I can't help it. I was like, you can.
Yeah.
I let it go on for quite a while before I said anything.
You don't sit there and just...
Oh, it was bad. I finally looked at him and I said, I'm leaving.
You get a good, you get a good mouthful in there and then you bite the noodles.
Anyway. All right. And then the last one I'm going to talk about right now is, and again, what do you mean? It's illegal to raise chickens in bottles. How?
There's a reason. Somebody's done that.
I asked my friend about this one too. How does one raise a chicken in a bottle? I Googled all of this last night too.
Yeah.
But I want to have it in front of me.
Right.
Creating a DIY automatic feeder or waterer using plastic bottles to reduce feed waste and keep water clean. I don't think this is what they meant.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so there's that.
All right. Construction of the Burlington County Prison was completed in 1811, and at this time, the first inmates were received. It ran continuously from 1811 until 1965 when it was closed, and it was the oldest continuously used jail in the country. In the 1950s, the freeholders, which is essentially acting as a board of directors, proposed to raise the building to make way for a combination of an office building and a more modern jail. But several historical groups jumped into action in opposition of this plan, and this included the Burlington County Historical Society, who was, at that time, led by Morristown resident Delia Pugh, and the Association for the Preservation of Historic Burlington County, who was led by Medford attorney Jay Tomlinson. These two individuals knew that the jail was most likely the most significant building in the country because it was designed by Robert Mills and was the first modern prison in the country. 7,000 county taxpayers signed a petition that finally garnered the attention of the freeholders, and at their meeting on May 25th, 1954, freeholder director Edwin L. Carpenter told reporters that the jail would likely be renovated and continued to be used as a jail, or it would be used as a bomb shelter, county museum, or serve as a law library. It was another 11 years before the jail would actually close, and though it was originally designed to house about 40 prisoners, the Burlington County Prison held over 100 inmates. When it closed on November 23, 1965, and on that day, inmates were lined up and marched to the Armory building on Grant Street, which had been converted to a jail. It wasn't long before overcrowding became an issue again, and a larger prison was built in 1983, and it is currently still in use. The old jail was opened as a museum in 1966, and the group that lobbied for the preservation became the Historic Burlington County Prison Museum Association, or the PMA. And it was incorporated in 1966, and its very first president was J. Tomlinson.
Did you turn the volume back up on your mic?
I did. In the first year of operation as a museum, at least 12,000 people visited, and this led to the first engagement of a full-time curator, and when interest leveled off by the time of their retirement in 1981, this position went unfilled. Hold on, my mouse is being glitchy. PMA members took over the management of the museum, and by 1990, the roof was leaking, and the lead-based paint on the walls was chipping, and some of the exhibits and signage were looking worse for wear. And in 1933, the freeholders closed the museum for repairs, and it wasn't until 2001 when the renovations were completed, and the prison museum went under the eye of the newly formed Burlington County Parks Department. Trust me when I say that this is an extremely abbreviated version of this prison's history, and their website, which is linked in the description, has a much more thorough view of the history of this property, if that's something you would love to learn about. Among the alumni of this facility was a man named Albert DeSalvo, who was passing through New Jersey and was arrested for charges of lewd and indecent exposure, and he later became known as the Boston Strangler. Joel Clough was convicted of the stabbing of a woman in Bordentown after she had repeatedly jilted him. He did manage to escape, but the 29-year-old Clough was recaptured quickly and confined to the death cell on the upper floor of the prison. The maximum security cell is described in the brochure as the dungeon, or maximum security cell, was in the center of the top floor. That location was carefully chosen to prevent escape by digging, to minimize communication with criminals in the cell blocks, and to ensure constant surveillance by guards making rounds. This was the only cell without a fireplace. It is flanked by niches for guards or visitors, and has one very high, very small window and an iron ring in the center of the floor to which the prisoner could be chained. As one might expect, tradition states that this cell is haunted. At the time, policy was that the convicted be chained to a ring on the floor at all times, in the nude, and as a consequence, it is said that Joel's spirit has been heard moaning and languishing in this cell. Electromagnetic detectors often spike in here. Other things like orbs and anomalies have been captured on film. The author of this article on Weird New Jersey said that when they visited on July 26th, which was the anniversary of Joel's execution, they set down their tape recorder at the far corner of the prison yard in hopes of capturing some EVP activity near where Joel was buried. They reported that after 4 minutes of silence, there was a loud click and the recorder turned off by itself, which it had not done before, and then it started again.
That's crazy.
3 minutes later, it did the same thing again, and despite checking the batteries and loading in a new tape, this happened 3 more times at intervals of about 2 to 4 minutes. They gave up and moved inside and didn't have any trouble with the recorder for the remainder of the night. That isn't all for the tales of hauntings and encounters, though. Visitors and other paranormal experts alike report orbs, sudden drops in temperature, and eerie voices that seem to come from nowhere. In their second episode of season 4, entitled Two to Tango, ghost hunters visited the prison. The father of one of the investigators, William Tango, who is a retired cop, checked out the location and said he had an intense paranormal experience and talked to his son Dave, who asked Jason and Grant to lend a hand. They found some of the claims to be explained by things such as cars passing by and like the lights reflecting off of like signage and stuff. But other things happened, like Jason becoming so woozy that he had to sit down. And like I've been watching Jason's, because he does YouTube videos now that Zach Bagans got their show canceled. So he does YouTube ghost investigations, and I've been watching a lot of them. And he's like, he doesn't do stuff like that. Like he doesn't, if he doesn't feel like unwell, he's not going to act unwell,
right,
you know, just for the camera. But yeah, he gets so woozy that he has to sit down. And when Dave and Chris came into the area without being told what had happened to Jason, they both reported feeling somewhat disoriented. They had some mixed results from their investigation, but they did have a video of a figure moving from left to right at the end of the hallway where there are no doors, and the figure doesn't register on the camera that detects heat signature. I couldn't remember the name of the camera. In 2005, historic ghost tours were offered during October in the evenings, and guests could rent spirit boxes for $5 for 45 minutes, which I honestly think is one of the best ways for these types of places to generate income.
Right.
Because weirdos like ourselves are more than willing to come to these locations and investigate for a few hours if it's like reasonably priced.
Right.
And I added on here, I will forever be the person saying that the prison in Nashville that sits just rotting off of the side of Briley Parkway is such a loss of potential for a museum or for paranormal investigations. And the state could be making pretty good money. Like if they were to put in for like parts of the prison to be restored for a museum or for, you know, whatever,
right,
to get like asbestos or what have you out of there and just invest a little bit of money. I say a little bit. I mean, it would probably be millions.
It would take a lot, especially now with all that extensive damage from the tornado.
Right. But I feel like it could generate income like as a museum. And like during the months of, you know, September and October, do paranormal invest or run them all year, hell.
Right.
But particularly during fall, because people love that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it's a building that's like had, at least for if you've lived here, you know, for long enough, like it's a building that we see frequently, and it just looks so cool. Like it was in the Green Mile.
It's got a ton of history to it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not just as a prison. It's got the stories behind it.
Yeah.
Are amazing.
Yeah. I can't wait till we get to like the Tennessee episode, and I'm gonna go all in.
I know.
But yeah, so that was that one.
Okay. So back to these crazy ass things. It's illegal to wear a bulletproof vest while committing murder. So if you're gonna go kill somebody,
see that, yeah,
it's not just illegal to kill somebody, but you better not be wearing a bulletproof vest while you're doing it,
because that takes away part of their ability to defend themselves.
Right.
Yeah,
because you know you're worried about the law if you're murdering somebody.
Yeah,
like they're gonna get you for life and then the afterlife.
Yeah,
is what's gonna happen. The next one. It is illegal to cause a poor person to move into the state or from one country to another within one county to another within New Jersey without local permission. This is a misdemeanor, and the person is to be returned to where they came from.
What?
So, homeless Joe.
Yeah. Oh, so they can't just be like,
if he lives in, you know, County A,
they can't make him.
You can't run him out to County B without permission, or you're going to get a misdemeanor, and homeless Joe's got to go back to County A.
Yeah.
The city of Trenton, which, fun story, back in the day before Maddie was born, I decided that if I was going to have a boy, I was going to name him Trenton.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work out for me.
No, but Easton is pretty close.
It is. I like Easton better.
Yeah.
The city of Trenton recently revisited the Trenton Pickle Ordinance, which states that you cannot eat pickles in Trenton on a Sunday. Additionally, Trenton residents are forbidden to throw bad pickles into the street.
I fear I would be eating pickles all exclusively on Sundays.
That's right. I love me a pickle.
Me too.
I love a pickle.
But I don't like them fancy pickles.
What do you mean? Like Rolos?
Yeah.
Is that what you're calling fancy?
I mean, like, the
Like
ones that
flavors?
aren't highlighter yellow. Any of those I consider fancy.
Oh, so like when they're white, like they're in the original non-altered,
I like a
chemical pack.
Mount Olive or whatever. Yeah. If the juice isn't neon yellow, chances are I'm not going to vibe with it. Some of them are all right, but no. When I want a pickle, that's what I want.
Listen, I would prefer, like, I'll eat a pickle on a burger.
They just don't. Oh, I won't. That's gross.
I'll eat a pickle on a burger. I'll eat a sliced pickle by itself.
Yeah.
If I'm going to eat a pickle by itself, I want one of those big old honking pickles.
Oh, yeah.
Ones that you get at, like, concession stands and stuff. Yeah.
They sell jars of them at Walmart.
I know. We saw it the other day. Gemma likes pickles, too. We walked past one of those big-ass jars of pickles, and TJ was like, Gemma, look. And she goes, can we get it? I was like, you'd never eat all those.
We just kept that shit in the kitchen.
I fear my whole house would smell of pickles all the time. Shade trees planted along streets, highways, and alleys in Blairstown are to be planted so as not to obscure light and air. It's a shade tree. Its job is to obscure light.
I feel like that's somebody got irritated about a tree being planted somewhere, and they created like a city ordinance that's worded that way so that you can't plant them at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, sure, you can plant them, but these are the requirements, and they're so bizarre.
After 4 p.m., a business that sells ice cream and has an outdoor area where 20 or more customers can gather must have a security guard on duty.
Okay.
People be getting wild after 4 p.m. at the ice cream parlors.
Yeah.
Haddon has an ordinance prohibiting offending or annoying persons in public areas, and it makes it illegal to approach a member of the opposite sex whom you don't know to become acquainted with against their will on a public street or public place, except in the transaction of legitimate business. And the ordinance says further that it is illegal to attempt to entice or procure a member of the opposite sex to commit an unlawful act, or invite the doing of any indecent or unnatural act which causes a potentially more serious issue.
I like that. I like it. Don't bother me. Don't come up to me.
Automobiles are not to pass a horse-drawn carriage on the street.
Okay. Yeah, that does feel kind of dangerous.
Yeah. In Bernard's Township, it is illegal to frown, as the town has a frown-free town zone. That was hard. Do I need to read that again?
I think I know what you were saying.
You're not allowed to frown in the frown-free town zone. So
that sounds like a tongue twister on purpose.
Right. Well, what happens when you just have a RBF and you just frown all the time for no reason?
You're just getting a ticket.
In Caldwell, you cannot dance or wear shorts on the main avenue.
Okay.
You be sweating your balls off in the summertime. In Cresskill, all cats must wear 3 bells to warn birds of their whereabouts.
You hear that? You would have to wear 3 bells. Willow could never.
Right. All right, that's all I'm giving you for now.
Okay. Normally, I wouldn't include a Wikipedia page for something because it is incredibly unreliable. However, did you buy some of them? Is that the Swedish candies? I was looking at them.
Yeah, this is the fizzy soda one. I don't like the Bubs ones.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of them.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have high hopes for these.
I might try one of them later.
Oh, they're massive.
I was going to say, all the gummies in that were massive. They were huge. And it smells good. I can smell that from here. It's okay.
It's better than those Bubs ones.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, normally I wouldn't include a Wikipedia page for anything, because it's highly unreliable. However, I have multiple sources that say basically the same thing. It was just easier with all of it being collectively on one page. So anyways, I wanted to preface that if anybody's like, why is there a Wikipedia page in your sources? Built originally in 1854 in Lambertville, New Jersey, this high school was partially destroyed by a fire in 1926, but it was remodeled and rebuilt in 1927, and it was continuously used until June of 1960 when it closed. After the class of 1960 stepped out, the high school was closed due to being too small and outdated for this growing area of New Jersey. This was pretty common for this time period, as across the country, high schools in the 1950s and 60s were closing to consolidate districts and replace outdated buildings like Lambertville High School. The building was used as a place to sell electronics for some years, but eventually sat abandoned until vandals set fire to it in 1992, which essentially gutted much of the interior structure, including the roof. But the ghost stories that are said to be here. It was a cold day in mid-November of 1935, and Lambertville High School was going about the usual school day and getting ready for the big football game. The marching band practice and banners hung in the hallway signifying the pep rally that would be happening in the gym to get everyone pumped to go against their arch rival, New Hope. This was like one of the biggest days at LHS, as whoever won the annual Turkey Bowl would have bragging rights for the rest of the year. About 4 p.m. rolled around, and everyone watched New Hope's buses roll up and pull around to let the players out at the field, and by 4:30 p.m. the game was underway. Neither team scored in the first quarter, but by the halftime the score was tied 21-21. The tension in the air was palpable, and the Eagles, LHS, and the Buckeyes, New Hope, did their best with their halftime shows. The third quarter began, and the Buckeyes had the ball and was running for the touchdown when their wide receiver was tackled. But shockingly, he didn't get up. The coaches rushed to the field, but in the time it took for them to get to him, the player was dead with a broken neck, and his head was almost completely turned around.
Oh!
And it is noted that the game was forfeited. Now, at first I was like, how could something like that happen? But then I'm thinking about all of the photos I've seen of like football gear in the 1930s, and I'm like, I can understand how
even
something
still,
like that
there's
would have
been times, like even in pro football, you watch and like if somebody pulls a face mask, yanks you around, I could see where it could easily happen.
Yeah. The parents of the deceased student petitioned that football was too dangerous and that New Hope should give it up, and this accounts for why New Hope still does not have a football team. Years went by, and the memory of the Buckeye who lost his life during the game faded from everyone's mind. In 1955, LHS packed up and moved to a new location in South Hunterdon, and the old school became the hangout for the rebel teens of the day, and many fights between Lambertville, Flemington, and New Hope students took place here. One night, there was a group of 4 or 5 boys hanging out on the back steps when one of them shared the story of the Buckeye who died and how he heard from his uncle who went to school there at the time. The guys had been drinking and were getting a little rowdy and started joking around about the death, and one of them stood up and proclaimed, "I challenge Buckeye to a race across the football field." They all laughed and kept on drinking. Soon, a cold wind started to blow through, and everyone got silent. From the far end of where the football field once sat, a pair of evil red eyes appeared in the darkness, and a voice whispered in the wind, "Run across the football field from end to end or die."
Oh, shit.
One of the boys turned to run away and fell to the concrete suddenly, cold and blue. The remaining boys heard the voice again and lined up on one end of the field and began to run to the other side. They all ran, and when they reached the other side, another boy was missing. They all ran home and locked the doors behind them, not saying a word about what happened. The following day, the parents of the two missing boys called the police, and their bodies were discovered by the old high school, and their heads were almost completely turned around. The incident was blamed on a fight gone wrong, and signs were posted, and a fence went up on the driveway of the school.
Did we fact check this story?
I did not check this story, but I don't think it's true. Now Buckeye is not the name of the student who died. It's said to be Billy. The local legend goes that if you would go to the old stairwell by the front door and then stand facing the front window while standing between the first and second floor stairway and utter the words, "I challenge Billy to a game of football," that a football would be thrown from the top of the staircase by Billy, said to break your neck in two. So yeah, I think the story of the football player is true, but I don't think that the second story I think that there were other like deaths of youths, but I don't think that that's how it happened. Another story of kids provoking the spirit of Billy is that they were enveloped by a strange mist and then disappeared. Reader of Weird New Jersey, who submitted a story, said that, "I know a guy named Lim who actually did try to summon Billy on the football field once after a kid they just met brought them up there to try it. The mist arose along with a strong gust of wind, and he swears that he saw something come charging across the field to get them. They all ran, and nobody ever saw the mysterious kid again. I asked my grandmother, who actually went to the school and lives in the middle of town near Mason's Bar. She assured me that the legend of the boy being killed during the middle of the game was true, but his name was Jimmy Cavallo, not Billy or Buckeye. The school was demolished in the fall of 2012. After looking into what is going on at this property nowadays, there is a letter from the mayor from 2024 where he had informed the developer that the city would not be extending their conditional redevelopment designation for the area. There were years of proposals for redevelopment of where the school sat. However, it ended up being found that the groundwater is contaminated there due to a former landfill that is close by that property that would not be closed. And so the city separated itself from the project entirely. So the property is still there, and it is still like a vacant lot, but the building itself is no longer there. So, yeah, that one was a little bit of a letdown, but I liked the story.
Right.
I like a good story, even if it's not true. And I'll tell y'all if I think it's not true. But
the story is very indicative of the time that it was made.
Exactly.
It definitely sounds like a story that you would hear in one of those old school, like, greaser movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to these laws, and this is the last set of laws that I have, and then we'll get into the inventions and things. Okay. In New Jersey, it is illegal to delay or detain a homing pigeon.
Yeah.
In Newark, it is illegal to sell ice cream after 6 p.m. unless the customer has a note from his doctor.
Okay.
No person shall drive a horse attached to a sleigh or sled on a highway unless there are a sufficient number of bells attached to the horse's harness to give warning of its approach. I like it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's just crazy to hear these types of laws this day and age.
Yeah.
this one. No person, I just like the wording of it. It makes sense, but I like the wording of it. No person shall liberate a fox within its state and under a penalty of $100 for each offense. You can't set a fox free in the state.
Might be like an invasive species there.
In Haddon, it's illegal to use the Crystal Lake pool without first obtaining a bathing tag from the township clerk.
That is the thing. There are beaches in New Jersey that require you to pay for a beach pass.
I mean, it's just a way for them to make money.
Yeah. And it also, I can see, because I think, again, that book series I was talking about, because the owner of the guest house has to buy, like, passes for all of her guests, for the maximum number of guests. And I think a lot of it, it's like, the cost of those passes pays for beach upkeep and maintenance. Yeah. So,
in Mount Laurel, it's illegal to get drunk and annoy others, even in your home.
I like that one. Get behind that.
Can you just imagine that call? 911, what is your emergency? Yeah, my husband got drunk and is being annoying. Come get him.
Yeah.
In Raritan, I guess I'm saying that right. A 1994 ordinance forbids offensive language within public areas and has the penalties of fines, along with the possibility of imprisonment. This rule is controversial in that some find the rule old-fashioned, but others feel it sets standards. They've been trying to get it repealed and changed and whatever because of evolving things, but as of, from what I could tell, it's still part of the deal. You can't be cussing in public there. I'd be screwed.
Yeah, me too.
And
I'll just be saying stuff. Daniel would be fine.
Right. Here, this last little bit I have are some laws that former Governor Christie took off the books. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they were just kind of still, I was like, they're worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Measures that are allowed stallions, bulls, and rams to run free at certain times of the year. Mm-hmm. A law that required debtors to be held separately from prisoners in jail.
Okay.
He got rid of laws forbidding those with venereal diseases from holding certain jobs.
Okay.
A law requiring a motorist to use an audible warning signal when passing another vehicle on the road. A measure requiring people to yield at a party phone line in an emergency.
Yeah, I can see how that would just
What is
outdated.
that? A party phone line.
So, used to, instead of like people having their own phone line in their homes because it wasn't like as readily available, because like now there are like hardly anybody has a landline. But back in the day, like groups of people would share a landline basically, and like you would pick up your phone and it would just be like somebody using the phone line.
I got you.
That would annoy me.
Right. Which reminds me, and I'm going to look something up here in a minute to tell you because it just blew my mind. We may have already talked about it before, but I don't remember. Another thing that was gotten rid of, a law requiring companies to post signs warning juveniles about the penalties for graffiti in stores that sell spray paint. And then finally, a measure that governs how the state treats victims of shipwrecks and the personal property that they leave behind.
Uh-huh. So basically, you just got rid of a bunch of like outdated stuff.
Hold on, because this is not what I was looking for.
I'm suddenly questioning whether I'm telling you correctly what a party line is. Let me look that up real quick. Okay, yeah. It was just a telephone line or circuit shared by 2 or more subscribers. So, yeah, I was telling you correctly.
I can't find what it was I was looking at the other day, but it blew. I'm gonna have to call TJ and ask him because he's the one that told me, and I can't remember how I worded it to look it up.
All right. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. 2025 marked the 150th anniversary of Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital in New Jersey, and the organization is doing a year-long historical celebration. The New Jersey Department of Health has a commemoration timeline that highlights milestones such as renovations, medical advances, and the move to a modern facility. But it neglects to share more of the difficult chapters of the organization's history, including overcrowding, inadequate care, and the subsequent lawsuits, federal oversight, demolition, and recent complaints of violence and neglect. Critics suggest that while honoring the contributions to the reduction of stigma in mental health is fine, they should not present a version of their history that downplays these difficult chapters. Opened in 1876, Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital sits on the border of Morris Plains and Parsippany, and was built to relieve overcrowding at Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. This was part of the national reform movement that was led by Dorothea Dix, who had spent years lobbying New Jersey legislature for state-funded facilities where those with mental illness could be treated with dignity instead of sent to jails or almshouses. The new hospital embodied the principles of Dr. Thomas Story Kirkbride, which I think we've talked about him before, a Philadelphia psychiatrist who outlined how architecture could support treatment in 1854. And the Greystone's Second Empire Victorian design was vast and imposing. When it first opened, it was the largest building in New Jersey, and by some accounts, in the nation. The wards were filled with light and wide corridors, and the grounds were well landscaped and reflected Kirkbride's conviction that structure, beauty, and routine promoted recovery. Here, occupational therapy was central, with patients who worked in gardens, sewed, learned carpentry, played in bands, and they even published their own newspaper. This campus functioned like a small town, boasting its own chapel, post office, police, and fire stations. Oh, it was my phone. I was like, what is that?
What?
My phone went off. I thought I heard somebody say, hey.
I didn't hear anything.
A trolley line that connected it to the Morris Plains train station, and at one time, even a bowling alley. For 5 years, singer-songwriter and activist Woody Guthrie spent time here as a patient being treated for Huntington's disease. He spent the last 15 years of his life in and out of facilities like this. And he was a patient here from 1956 to 1961 and lived in Ward 40, calling it Wardy 40. And here he met a 19-year-old Bob Dylan, who Woody Guthrie was his idol. And if you're not familiar with Woody Guthrie, he's the one that sang the song "This Land Is Your Land."
Okay.
He wrote a lot of similar to Bob Dylan, who writes folky protest songs, stuff like that. Woody's daughter Nora collaborated with author Philip Buehler on the book that depicts his time spent at the facility, and I low-key want to buy this book, but was a bit scared of the $75 price tag, but it's currently on sale for $25, so I might buy it. But anyway, the enormity of the building would end up being its undoing, and by the early 1950s, more than why did I type that way? Something must have happened. I think it was 7,000 patients were housed in buildings intended for only 2,000. Conditions, oh my God, I can't read, words are hard. Conditions at the hospital deteriorated to the point that there was a landmark class action suit, Doe versus Klein, that exposed constitutional violations, overcrowding, abuse, and neglect. A settlement placed a judgment on Greystone that they had to be under the oversight of a federal court for more than 3 decades, and monitoring was lifted in 2009. The original Kirkbride building no longer supported modern mental health care, and plans for a replacement were underway, with a new state-of-the-art facility opening nearby in 2008, and patients were transferred and the original hospital was shuttered. Within 10 years, familiar issues were coming up, and in 2018, the Office of the Public Defender accused the state of concealing violence, neglect, chronic overcrowding, and understaffing issues at the hospital, and a federal settlement imposed strict capacity limits and mandatory staffing ratios, and it was again placed under court supervision. In 2020, a patient fatally stabbed another resident, and in 2022, former chief of psychiatry, Dr. Margarita Gorhams, filed a lawsuit for alleged retaliation for reporting unsafe conditions. In 2024, 2 additional lawsuits had been filed. One by the Disability Rights New Jersey, who challenged conditions across the state psychiatric hospital system, and yet another whistleblower complaint that alleged the facility delayed investigation into patient deaths and reprisals against staff. These cases demonstrate an uncomfortable reality. Patterns that plagued the original Greystone are still surfacing even in the new updated facility and even in 2024. With the new hospital opened, battles raged over what to do with the historic Kirkbride building, with preservationists arguing that it was irreplaceable and a cultural landmark in Morris County. However, in 2015, Governor Chris Christie ordered the building's demolition, and the state declined to list the building on any historic registers, which I think is fucked up. Many still believe that this demolition remains as one of the darkest moments in architectural history for New Jersey. In the history of the Greystone did not vanish with its walls, and the Greystone Oral History Project was self-funded by librarian and researcher Stephanie Kipp, and she spent years recording nearly 100 interviews with former staff, patients, and family members, historians, and advocates. But the ghosts, I get it. I get a little too into the history of it sometimes. Visitors to the Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital reported many eerie experiences, including unexplained noises, apparitions, and sudden drops in temperature. Prior to its demolition, paranormal investigators would flock to this hospital in hopes of capturing the paranormal. Some of the most frequently reported were shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and an overall sense of being watched, and some claimed to have even seen the spirit of a nurse who would roam the halls, seeming to still be attending to long-departed patients. Once considered to be one of the most haunted locations in New Jersey, it is thought that this land is home to hundreds of souls who either died when they were a patient or died as a result of the actions of a patient. Just when I was losing hope of finding any tangible ghost stories about this place for something that's supposed to be the most haunted spot in New Jersey, I stumbled upon a blog by Brian Moreland. He said that as a local, he had heard from people who worked there that there was a feeling of being watched, and said they couldn't get out of there fast enough. So basically, I still had no tangible ghost stories by this point, because he spent a whole article talking and he said nothing. But I did learn that the Kirkbride building had been used by several TV shows and films, including House MD and a film by Sean Stone titled Greystone Park, where the filmmakers came to explore the haunted asylum. But the crew gets more than they bargained for, and the film is based on their experiences. I wish all of the sources in terms of hauntings weren't so vague. The story and history of the hospital is intriguing and demonstrates that the poor treatment of patients at mental facilities isn't as old as we generally think, since this facility is still facing litigation on how they treat their patients and their staff. Who's out there?
Nobody that I can see.
All right. That was what I had.
Woody Guthrie also sang that song. This was the one that stuck with me. Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's move on to the cool things that came from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
In 1824, the first steam locomotive that actually pulled a train on a track was built by John Stevens of Hoboken. The first photograph in 1877 was made by Thomas A. Edison at Menlo Park. In 1878, the first submarine was built by John Holland of Passaic County. Or Passaic. I don't
Might
know.
be Passaic.
Um,
That sounds familiar.
In 1879, the first incandescent lamp was made by Thomas Edison. There's some shit going on right now.
What are you talking about?
You woke something up.
Did I?
Anyway,
Can you not get comfy?
I knew I should have brought my infinity deck. The first condensed soup in 1897, which is soup without its water, was made in Camden. In 1943, streptomycin, which was an antibiotic, was developed by Selman Waksman at Rutgers University. In 1947, first transistors developed by a three-man team at Bell Labs in Murray Hill. The first direct distance calling coast to coast was in 1951. The service was inaugurated at Inglewood. Barcoding was patented at IBM in 1952. Hold on. Valium in 1963 was developed by Leo Sternbach at Hoffman LaRoche. Let's see. Ones that are interesting to people. I'm trying to just kind of go through because there's a lot.
I like that Valium was included on the list of what might be interesting.
Oral care implement was in 2013. Colgate Palmolive and sole inventor Douglas J. Holbein. Was the first commercial toothbrush that features a soft tissue cleanser, allowing the cleansing of both the hard enamel teeth and the soft tissue tongue and cheeks, which is where more bacteria resides.
Yeah.
Green light emitting pyrotechnic compositions in 2014. U.S. Army RDEC and inventors Jesse J. Sabatini, Ph.D., J.C. Porritt, Ph.D., and Russell M. Broad were recognized for using boron carbide compositions to produce safe, easy to use, and low-cost green light. More traditional methods for producing green light had associated health concerns. In 2015, systems and methods for storing spent nuclear fuel. Holtec International inventor Krishna P. Singh, Ph.D., invented a method for the underground dry storage of spent nuclear fuel and other nuclear waste. The system provides adequate ventilation and complete physical protection by storing the fuel and waste below grade in reinforced vertical silos. Let's see. In 2017, a method of preparing an antimicrobial packaged medical device, Ethicon, a Johnson & Johnson company, and inventors Howard Scalzo, Jerome A. Fisher, Stephen Rothenberger, Robert Serwin, and James R. McDavitt. This patent relates to a novel revolutionary method to impart antibacterial properties on a wide range of implantable medical devices, but was specifically commercialized with the surgical suture products. Post-operative or surgical site infections occur in approximately 2 to 3% of all cases. This amounts to more than 1.5 million surgical site infections each year in the U.S. alone. Globally, this total is substantially higher, so this is kind of trying to fight that.
Yeah.
Which, thank you, as someone who has had multiple surgeries in their life.
I'm glad I've not had one yet.
You have how many stories left?
I think it's 2.
Okay.
Or it might be 1. I don't know. This stupid mouse.
I think it's just 1.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and read yours, and then I'll wrap it up on the next one after that one.
Okay. Come on now.
Come on, Eileen. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Okay. In the middle of Warren County is a paved 2-lane rural road about 7 miles long that weaves from farm country just off I-80 along a portion of Jenny Jump State Forest and rides along the edge of the unofficially named Ghost Lake. Despite the name, this is a real and functional road, which I don't know that I've told you the name of. Shades of Death Road. Despite the name, this is a real and functional road that is part of the rural landscape that people travel daily. The origin of the name is not known, but one theory suggests that it was named after a malaria-infested swamp along the road that caused illness and death. Another theory says that it earned the name because of the murders that allegedly took place there in the 1920s. There are no historical records to support this claim. This road passes through wooded areas and is quite dark at night, and this, in conjunction with the name, has partially contributed to its reputation for being spooky or haunted. One of my sources made it a point to say that the legends surrounding Shades of Death Road are just that, legends, folklore, whatever you want to call it. There are numerous local legends, and it is said to be not the lore. And it is said to be the scariest road in New Jersey. Our oldie but goldie friend legend says many years ago that a car of teenagers were driving down a country road in Hackettstown, New Jersey after prom. The road was slippery that night and curved sharply to the left and right, winding into the darkness. The driver lost control and crashed into a ditch, which killed one of the passengers. And to this day, on dark and slippery nights, legend says that you can still see the girl who died wandering the murderous curve in her prom dress. Other ghostly activity includes reports of phantom vehicles who will appear in the rearview mirror of drivers only to vanish moments later. Drivers have reported that these ghost cars will follow for a few miles before vanishing into thin air. There are reports of mysterious fog banks materializing suddenly even when the weather is clear, and these mists will swirl across the roadway and move deliberately. Apparitions have been seen standing at the roadside that have startled countless motorists traveling through, and these spectral forms are said to appear solid and real until drivers get closer and they fade before their eyes. There have also been reports of electronics malfunctioning while traveling along this 7-mile stretch, and cell phones lose signal entirely, and GPS devices will change to provide directions that don't make any sense and contradict road signs. Along with this, drivers have reported temperature drops in their vehicles without any explanation, and these cold spots will feel intensely frigid despite the car's heater running. Strange lights are seen dancing through the trees that run along both sides of the roadway, and these orbs range from small pinpoints of light to spheres the size of basketballs that are said to glow with otherworldly illuminance. Reports of disembodied voices that call out to travelers have been reported since the early 1900s and seem to come from the dense forest. Many have reported overwhelming feelings of dread and like they are being watched while driving through, and this sensation has been said to be so intense that it causes some to never drive through again. Along with the prom-ready teenage girl, there are reports of a phantom hiker that carries an old-fashioned lantern from centuries past, and his clothing is said to be consistent with the late 1700s or early 1800s fashions. He hikes along the shoulder and heads north before he suddenly disappears, and multiple independent witnesses have reported identical encounters with the same spirit over the span of decades. There have been reports of a spectral cat with glowing eyes who has been terrorizing drivers since the 1930s, with the creature supposedly leaping onto vehicle hoods and will hiss through the windshield before it vanishes.
You know what? I love that.
Me too. Locals have linked this phantom feline to a wildcat infestation that plagued the area, and some theorize that the ghost cat represents the collective spirit of animals killed during the eradication efforts.
Okay, I'll take that. I thought they were trying to say it was really just a wildcat.
Oh. Just when you think, how much more haunted can this road be? There are also reports of shadow people who dart among the trees and have become more common over the past 2 decades. These dark, human-like figures move with unnatural speed and seem to keep pace with vehicles on the road. Witnesses have described feeling a sense of genuine terror when these figures appear in their peripheral vision, and while they never approach vehicles directly, they do seem to maintain a constant presence just beyond their clear sight. Also, there have been reports of a phantom horse and carriage that has been spotted by several supposed credible witnesses. I don't know why a lot of these sources will say, oh, a credible witness. Well, who was that?
Right.
I don't know if they're credible. Just because you said they're credible doesn't make them credible.
Right.
Anyway, several supposed credible witnesses over many years, and this ghostly carriage appears suddenly behind motorists and will pass through vehicles without making any contact. Drivers say that they will see the carriage clearly for a few seconds before it fades from existence. The spectral horses pull it and appear as dark silhouettes without any distinguishable features or details. It is also said that paranormal activity intensifies after sunset when darkness settles over the densely forested landscape, and the most compelling encounters occur between midnight and 3 a.m. specifically. Foggy conditions during the months of October and November seem to generate the highest concentration of quote-unquote credible ghost reports. From quote-unquote reliable witnesses. Who? How? Who? Where? Anyway, the full moon is said to attract a larger number of paranormal investigators in hopes of capturing evidence. The website where I got all of this information has a ton more paranormal claims that I could possibly read, and it dives more into like Ghost Lake specifically. And it's on the hauntpedia.com listing in my sources. But I'm really glad that I picked one to end on that had a lot more ghost stories attached to it than I could have possibly imagined.
Right.
So it really kind of made up for some of the lackluster.
I liked them all, though.
I liked them all. But I feel like some of especially the prison, was a little bit lackluster.
But it had a good story to it.
Yeah. So that was mine.
Well,
I'm going to turn my mic down so I can blow my nose again because I blew my nose directly into the mic earlier. And
yes, you're welcome. Other things that were invented in Jersey: air conditioning, baseball, boardwalks, bubble wrap, the cell phone, color TV, drive-in theaters, the electric guitar, the golf tee.
Nice.
I've seen, this says the ice cream cone. I've seen that in other places too, though.
Yeah. I feel like stuff like that is so much more easily replicated.
M&M's, the Monopoly board game, saltwater taffy, TV dinners. I think I heard that somewhere else too. I think I put that in something else too, in another state. And my favorite of all the things, the vibrating bed. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a vibrating bed?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to just experience one.
Yeah. After watching it on the Golden Girls.
That's not where my brain went with it. Yes, but I went
Also
supernatural.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
I liked the episode of the Golden Girls where they did it and then the man came in and started singing.
And then, lastly, the dreaded traffic circle was invented in Jersey. So, there we have it, folks. There we have it. I thought of something else that I was going to tell you when you got done with that last story. And now, hold on. It was related to the story that you were telling. I
ate a whole bag of squashies.
Oh, now I remember. You know how the phantom people running next to the road?
Yeah.
Is what reminded me of this. Okay. Here's a story about young Chelsea. Childhood Chelsea. Okay. You know how, like, when you're driving down a road and there's, like, some, like, mountains or hills or whatever, like rock walls on either side, and there'll be signs that says watch for falling rocks or something along those lines. When I was a kid,
when you were a young warthog,
my brain went there and I stopped it. Because that song has been sang in my house for like a week now. For whatever reason.
When I was a young warthog.
I like it when TJ walks through the house with his opera voice doing that. It's pretty funny. My family had me convinced that Falling Rock was a Native American that would be running through the trees and that it was our job to look for him and let somebody know if we saw him.
Girl.
I believed this until I was like a teenager. I spent, which I mean, I'm sure it was just a way to get me to like shut up and like have something to look for, like, you know. But I spent my childhood watching out the windows through the trees and I could just envision a Native American in like traditional Native American clothing just running through the woods fast as the wind. And I'm like, I'm going to see him. Today's the day. I know it is.
Nice.
My kids thought that was funny. I told them that story when we went to the mountains last year.
That made me think of being a child. And we went to Kentucky. It was before we had a lottery here. And we went to Kentucky because my papa wanted to buy cigarettes because they ain't got no state tax up there. So we went to this place. He's getting his cigarettes. And in this place, they had all these machines, right, for gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like 7 or 8. And it says on a sign, it says not 18, no way, no play, or something like that. Basically saying if you're not 18, you can't play this machine. Well, my little 7-year-old brain is like, it took me a little while. And of course, I got like $1 in my pocket, okay? So I'm sitting there and I'm like processing this sign, trying to figure out what it means. And I'm like, does that mean that I can play it, but they can't play it? Next thing you know, I'm getting a lottery ticket out and then I'm getting yelled at.
Okay.
While nobody's paying attention to me,
right?
I'm like, oh, well, I'll play this game. Because I just thought it was a game. Right. I didn't know what it was. And, so, because I'm used to my Nana playing because one thing about my Nana is a certified gambler. Because
couldn't be me.
Used to, like, my Nana was the one playing the machines, getting the teddy bears and all that stuff before we had a lottery here. And then when we got a lottery here, she's buying lottery tickets. So it's just, that's one thing about my Nana is she is a certified gambling addict. Well, so I'm accustomed to her playing those machines, claw machines. And that's what I thought. I was playing something like that.
Right.
So,
well,
yeah. Anyway, That was our we were dumb children stories.
Right. So here's the thing that we forgot on the last episode is our nonprofit of the month.
Yeah.
This month, I picked Best Buddies. Best Buddies International is a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to establishing a global volunteer movement that creates opportunities for one-to-one friendships, integrated employment, leadership development, inclusive living, and family support for individuals with intellectual and development disabilities. Best Buddies serves individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. The communities include, but is not limited to, people with Down syndrome, autism, Fragile X, Williams syndrome, and other undiagnosed disabilities. They have the largest organization dedicated to ending social and physical and economical isolation of the 200 million people worldwide with these disabilities. They empower people to form meaningful friendships with their peers, secure jobs, improve communication and advocacy skills. Now I'm struggling. And live independently while also offering support for their families. So basically, they help foster having, one-to-one friendships with them. They help them obtain and, get jobs, keep jobs. They help them figure out how to live independently and, help educate families on how to best support them. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll have a link in the episode information should you feel the need to spread the love. But while you're already in, on your on the interwebs looking at our episode notes and whatnot, please make sure that you are sending us DMs.
Yeah.
About things that you want to ask us about or tell us, or topic ideas, or, if you want to know that if you're the asshole in the situation, you can send those DMs to us on Facebook,
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube.
I almost said Twitter.
We ain't got one of them anymore.
Right. Email us at wanderersofweird@gmail.com. That's all I got for it, guys. Ooh, what happened? Willow. Oh.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.